Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Genesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Genesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Genesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo. In today's episode, I met with Mike McDaniel of McDaniel Insurance in North Carolina. If you want to learn how to grow your agency from zero to an $8 million agency while you're maintaining a work-life balance, you're being kind to people, and you're having fun and being silly along the way, then this is going to be a really good episode for you. Hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Insurance Agency Success Podcast. Today, my special guest is a longtime Genesis customer, a good friend, a great man, Mike McDaniel with McDaniel Insurance Agency in Marion, North Carolina. So, Mike, welcome to this podcast, and I appreciate your time and you being here.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Absolutely not. This is the first time.
Good.
Got the first one for me.
So
I think I'm nervous.
Yeah, well, you should be. No, I'm just kidding. So the beauty of this, and when we talked just a second ago before I started recording, is and we just talked for a second because that's the way I like doing these. You and I have not had we've not seen each other face to face in several years. We talk once or twice a year on the phone, right, about something, and it's usually not that long. So it's kind of fun for me. My point is, this time together needs to be just really genuine and Eddie and Mike talking. And I want to talk about business. I'm not here today to talk about Genesis. I'm here to talk about the industry, your time in the industry, and what you've learned over the years and that sort of thing. So let's start there, actually. So let's start with you just give us your name, rank, and serial number, your agency, where you are, and just tell us the story a little bit about you getting started. I don't know if you've even thought about that story in a while, but I'd love to hear it. I don't know that I've ever heard the origins.
Well, it's kind of one of them deals, Eddie, where I was a captive agent for about 5 years. Had a good friend of mine that actually was working as a captive agent. I guess I'll just leave the company name out I guess probably would be a good thing to do that. But we were more or less just moving along with our careers. And one day I just noticed a buddy of mine that's kind of dropped off the map. And I reached out to him and asked him what was going on. He said, well, I'm thinking about starting my own business, my own agency. And he asked me would I like to know what's going on and how I could do it myself. And so I never really thought much about that. And I thought, well, I'll just stay here with this captive agency, just be faithful to that. But after that conversation with this, he really was a good friend, introduced me really at that point to an opportunity to be a scratch agent with Erie Insurance. And I'd never really even given any thought. And so when me and Kip Mace, really the guy that I talked to down in Alexander County, showed me Erie stuff out of a trunk, something happened. I mean, I'll be honest with you, something I really felt, if I could just be totally transparent, I just felt like the Lord just kind of said, this is something you need to really, really look at. And it made me nervous. I was excited. And he said, you can do this, Mike. You got the personality. You've got the, to get up and go to actually start your own agency. And it done two things to me. I'll be honest, Eddie. It scared me literally to death, but it gave me some of the greatest excitement I've ever had in my life. And, I began to pray about it, began to just, contemplate it. And of course, from there, I reached out. They had their district sales manager reach out to me, and I went through. Erie has about a years long, what they call courting process. They get to know me, I get to know them. You go through the process of presenting your plan, how you're going to approach opening an agency, which I didn't know really a whole lot about. And so, they checked a lot of things about my background. And so that year's time, we got to know one another. And so in June of 1999, I got appointed and started my agency as McDaniel Insurance Agency. And believe it or not, I started at my kitchen table and just started working from there, making cold calls, talking to people. And eventually, just very short time, I went to started up on West 4th Street. It's one of the funniest stories I guess I could ever tell, is that when I first started, they put me, I found a 600 square foot place right behind the funeral home in Marion, Kursky Funeral Home, and there was a dry cleaner on the other side. And so I'm sitting in here in the 600-foot cubicle, so to speak, me by myself, computer and the phone, starting an insurance agency by myself, and people began to call. I sent out all kinds of letters and letting people know that I was in the business as an independent agent after 5 years. And people say, well, how you doing? What's going on? I said, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not decided whether I want to be buried or dry cleaned. And so from there, we just began to work. And I'd always like to tell, I've gave a little thought that you might ask me about how I started. And really, Eddie, it's one of the things I guess I always cherish is my mom came in not long after I started and sat down and just started watching me. And she saw me answering the phone, taking payments, selling policies. And my mama, that's up in her 70s, way up in her 70s at that point, watched me all day and just said, Mike, you can't do this, and said, I'll be back tomorrow. And my little mama came in for, I guess, the next 5 years and answered the phone, took payments. All we had was just a little old small, I don't know if you ever saw one of these little boxes you see at a ball game that's got the little coins and a place for you to put.
Oh, yeah.
Put your dollar bills and stuff. And that's literally my humble start. Mama took payments, answered the phone, kept the dogs off of me, so to speak, so I could catch up. And she began to be an intricate part of my agency, and underwriters got to know her and love her. And so, I had special people in my life that really, and she was really the most special one that said, look, we know you can do this. I know you need a little help. And that's where we started, in that little old small area right off of Main Street in Marion.
So 25 years ago.
Yeah, 27 years ago now. 27. We're in our 27th year.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't say when we started out, it was on my little note sheet to say, and I skipped it, and it's relevant to what you just said. The purpose of this podcast, I don't know if I've shared with you why I'm doing this. The purpose of this podcast mostly is to be able to create some content that someone can watch, that maybe they're in their year one. Maybe it's just them, maybe ready to leave one job and go to another, into an agency. So I think there's so much value in people being able to hear the stories like you're talking about to help them on their journey, So that's why we're doing this, is to share stories exactly like that, because I think it's so encouraging to hear people talk about that and know that 27 years later, so many people are wondering, can they make it? You probably did too back 27 years ago. Can I make it? Can I do it? You already said it was kind of a scary thing. It was exhilarating, but it was scary. And then you kind of leaned on your faith, it sounds like, to be able to say, all right, I feel like I'm not going against what I should be doing. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm following the path that I'm being led to, being called to. And when you do that, you probably feel a little more confident that this is going to work out. It's not all in your hands. You're not going to take all the responsibility. So 27 years later, how do you define your agency size? Like some people talk about, how big is your agency? Well, it's this many team members, or it's this premium, or whatever. Kind of tell us a little bit about what you've grown from the little tray, the money tray, and what size agency do you have 27 years later, and however you want to define that or describe it.
Yeah, I guess it would be defined in as I progressed along and as years began to click from 1 year to 2 years. I hired a lady that became a real strong part. I'm not sure if you have actually remember Johnsy Parker.
I do remember.
Way back. She was really the first person that when we first got introduced to Genesis,
Okay.
Johnsy was a good tech guru. She helped build a website for me. And so she understood Genesis a whole lot more than I did. Honestly, Eddie, it's funny. I'm probably the dumbest man that you'll ever talk to on a podcast, but I love people and I hire smart people to work for me. And when I hired her, she began, we began to just, progress and grow. And we really got successful early in the early 2000s. And from there, I got, just as time grew, I started hiring people as we just got to the point that we couldn't handle it anymore. And so then I hired another lady and then another lady, and as the years roll by, I've now got, after 27 years, I've got 4 agents, and actually my secretary. It's kind of funny. We call Regina the plant manager. She's my head secretary, been with me over 20 years. And we are now about between $7 and $8 million in our book of business. And we do a lot. We're really high volume auto, home, personal lines. We sell a lot of auto coverage and home coverage. We do pretty good on the commercial, but we're really top heavy. I'd say 70 something % on the personal line side. And, we stay pretty busy with that.
Okay. You mentioned the word success. This is an interesting question to me. And I think the word success can be the answer to that can be pretty broad and pretty vast for a lot of us. For some people, it's just one thing. Let's talk a minute about success, because I already said that this podcast is intended for people who are looking to maybe be where Mike is one day. And I know you well enough to know your humility makes you probably be thinking, well, I don't have a lot to teach somebody, but we know you do. But what is success to you?
Boy, that's I define it in, I'm the only. And again, I look at it from Erie's standpoint because they're the one that gave me the opportunity. I know there's a lot of insurance companies out there, but to me, for my county, for my city, for people, especially because Erie was a name that nobody had ever heard here in McDowell County. Nobody, when I first started in '99 and I introduced Erie Insurance to people, they said, ooh, that's even a scary name, much less an insurance company. But when we started, so many people gave me a chance. And so many people who knew me said, Mike, I know you enough to know that you wouldn't lead us wrong. And they entrusted me with everything they had, their home, their auto, their life insurance needs. And down through the years, it's flattering. It's very humbling to me, but I know about everybody in this town. I know I've got the district attorney's insurance, most of the highway patrol's insurance. And what I've done, I've really focused heavy in a small town by being really, really visible. And what I mean visible is I take a lot of my commercial policies that come in the mail, instead of mailing them, I take them and hand them to people. And I know sometimes you say, how in the world can you do that being an $8 million agency? Well, I come in, believe this or not, Eddie, I come in, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. I'm here at my office by 6 o'clock every morning. And I work till sometimes 6 and 7 at night. And some people may not want to hear that. So, oh Lord, I don't want to, I don't want to have a job that keeps me in there 12 and 13 hours a day. But what I do, I try to take and just be so visible with, the community that I go, I go to the courthouse a lot. I go to the tag office a lot. And I'm around this town all the time, just every day. And I have been for 27 years. What I started as, I've never changed. A lot of people say, well, I can't get so-and-so on the phone. He won't answer my call. They won't return, my messages or whatever. But I've tried to stay the person that I started out to be, and just really, just build off of that. And it's a lot of people look at our agency and say, we know them, we know who they are, we know if we need them, they'll be there. They'll meet that need that we've actually told them that we promised them. And so I think success-wise, our name, our brand, our agency, most everybody in this town knows who we are. And a lot of people have, entrusted us with their business.
So success summarized would be you're successful. One definition of success is you're successful as an insurance agent when the people in your market know who you are. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. People in our area, when they think of insurance, think of their home or their auto. So I'll be honest with you, a lot of people, then when they think of their insurance, we get a ton of referrals. A lot of my business, even though we use the technology, we use market leads, we use things that's, the tools that really has been offered to us. But a lot of my customers come through the door because somebody else has told them about us and have made very good comments about us. And that really, that we wrote a lot of insurance based on that.
Yeah. And I think referrals are the kind of thing that I don't think you can just say, okay, I want a referral program here at my agency, and I'm going to give $10 or $20 for every time I get a referral. Because I don't think, just like you can't buy friends, I don't think you can buy a lot of referrals. I think people will refer you business when they believe in you, they want to help you, and they want to help the person they're referring to you. I think that when you build the reputation like you're talking about, that takes a while. That doesn't happen overnight to be that visible and to be that well known. But I think once you have the integrity, you're doing what you're saying you're going to do, you're calling people back when you're supposed to call them back, then people want to help you by referring you business. And at the same time, they're wanting to help the person they're referring to you because they know that person's going to love working with you. Do you track referrals, or like when you think like right now, could you go to Genesis or something and say last month or last year, this percentage came from referrals, or do you not track that?
No, we've not been real good about, just trying to follow up on tracking.
Do you think that your number one is referrals? Number one source of new business?
It's in my top 2 or 3. Now, I do this, Eddie. Everybody that walks in this door, and we have a lot of foot traffic because our office is right here at the foot of the hill where McDaniel High School is at. Everybody that comes through the door, I always make a point to ask them, how'd you find us? And again, a good majority of them says, well, I worked with somebody, I got family, friends, somebody I know that told us, they got a good deal, come and see you. And I would think referrals would be probably, it might even be in our top 2, being either referrals or, development plans that we have that we use to try to get people to pull up through the search engines and stuff.
Love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. When did we start working together? Do you remember?
It would have been early 2000s.
Okay.
I would say before 2005, maybe
Okay.
2002 or three, somewhere right in there.
Okay. So a little over 20 years.
Yeah, it's been at least between 20 and 25 years. Yeah, we've grown with you, Eddie.
I know.
Yeah,
We've grown together, man.
grown
Uh,
together.
I don't think that you've talked yet about many challenges in the agency business. So let's talk about that for a minute. Because I also think if somebody's watching this and they're starting out their agency, they either are currently experiencing hard things, getting markets, getting customers, keeping employees. Those are some of the things that I think are hard for new agents. What's been hard for you over the years? What's been the hardest two or three things you think about this business, and what do you do about it?
Gosh, boy, that's an interesting question.
If you
Gosh,
could
I'm
wave
trying
your
to
magic wand and something not be quite so hard.
keeping people's bills paid for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, cancellations. I guess that's the toughest thing because we do a lot of trying just to keep people active, keep them reinstated. I got a lot of help from my secretary that she helps me a lot with that. But I guess gosh, I'm just trying to think. You've asked me a tough question because it seems like
Well, don't
every
think about
day's
it this way then. What do you think is hard for a new agent today? If you went to lunch with a new agent and they were wanting to pick your brain and say, what do I need to be thinking about, Mike? What's going to be hard in this first year that I'm starting my agency? Don't you think it's some combination of some people, it's hard to get customers. It's not easy right out of the gate. And sometimes it's hard getting carriers. Like you started out with Erie, some agencies are starting out with almost nobody, to try to get a market through. So has any of that ever been hard for you? Or do you think it's kind of, you've just been blessed maybe? I mean, I've been pretty blessed too, by the way. I got to tell you, I'd probably struggle answering that question for Genesis because we've grown every year for 25 years. We've been blessed with great customers. We've not had a loss problem really with losing too many customers. So I would probably struggle, but I do think those are some of the challenges that people have when they're starting a business, getting customers, getting companies that represent them.
Yeah, well, I'd be with when I started in '99 with Erie. Just going back to them because I do have other carriers. I've got several other carriers, but they were the one that really gave me my start. Is that back then it just seemed like they were so doggone competitive that so many people just came flocking to me from where I was at, and just the business sometimes even the products even sometimes just sold itself. I mean it's amazing to me. I felt like I was so blessed. I tell guys that come to me now that to me the biggest challenge, just like you say, would be to have a company that is strong, competitive, that's got good rates, that has good customer service, that has good claims experience. Because we just went through Helene. Again, in my 30-something years as an agent, I've never experienced anything like we did here in McDowell County. But I would tell an agent, it would be challenged to find a go-to carrier because so many people are shopping online. They're using the young people are using the cell phone technology to get quotes and kind of cut out me and the other independent agents as the middleman. And so, if I got a good product, a good price, and a good customer service base that they can come to, is that to me, that's one of the biggest challenges I had and have continued to have down through the years is just to keep. I don't know. I told somebody, I guess yesterday. I guess the thing I've fought more than anything else in the last recent year or two is rates. Of just trying to stay competitive. As an independent, when people call in and they say, I've got this rate increase, I can't stand it. Thankfully, I'm an independent agent. I got other carriers I can quote and requote. But if I was a new agent right now, that would be my number one goal, is to hopefully find a carrier that was strong and just kind of build off of that carrier. And of course, Erie at that point back in '99 was that carrier that kind of got me out of the gate.
Yeah. But now you represent quite a few carriers, right? Or a few.
Yeah, we do National General, Discovery, Progressive, several, the ones that I'm sure you're very familiar with. It's been tough for me to get another good preferred carrier that some of the other agencies have. Again, I'm not sure if it's proper to mention names or not, but there's been a few that I've been after that hadn't really necessarily wanted to talk with us, but, especially with the market as it is right now.
Right. Yeah. The market's kind of having a tough moment. I think it's fine to mention names where we want to. It's just me and you talking. But as a matter of fact, I thought about that earlier when you were telling about your intro story. I started with Farm Bureau. Is that who you started with, or who'd you start with?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if I should say that or not, but yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah. We're certainly not slamming them. I mean, I'm grateful for the time that I spent at Farm Bureau in the late 80s. And I guess you were there in the 90s or something?
Yeah. I started in 94 and actually left and started my agency in 99. And I'll tell you something, just me and you talking, being in the independent world, probably more than half of the Erie agents in this state are former Farm Bureau guys.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of them, they get in it for a while and decide, well, if I'm going to stay in it, I'm going to own my own agency.
Right.
And I don't make no bones about it. It's the smartest move I ever made in my life was to actually leave the captive and go be independent.
Yeah. Same here. I started with Farm Bureau in North Carolina, in Rutherford County, so right next to McDowell County, in '88. I just finished college at Chapel Hill in '88, went to work for Farm Bureau then, and worked about 2 or 3 years and started my agency around 91, I think, 91 or 92, 91, I think. So at one point, didn't you have a second location? I don't know if you have one now, or for a little while or something?
Yeah, we actually had what we call a satellite location, to where I hired a guy and we had no place to put him. And so we had to open up a second one. And it was pretty funny for a while because it confused people. They didn't know if we was moving, if, what was going on, because we actually opened up another location toward the new Walmart. And again, the only reason we did it was because we had no place to actually put that particular agent I wanted to bring in. I actually wanted him so bad. And he was a former Farm Bureau guy. That was a good life insurance guy that he's still with me. Chris is still with me right now. And he likes selling life insurance as much as a hog likes eating slop. I mean, they get tickled with, you know how these life companies, Farm Bureau and Erie and all of them love a guy who just loves to sell life insurance. And Chris is a life insurance selling maniac. He loves it. Where a lot of us, have a hard time struggling because we do so many other things. But yeah, and the only reason we're here is that when this place that we're in right now, in our new office, we've been here 2 years now. In August, the business that we're in here was called Smoky Q's. It's a barbecue restaurant that offers different, lines of food, but basically it's a barbecue restaurant with chicken and different entrees and stuff that goes with it. But the restaurant right beside of it, that's the same man that owned it, it was called Fat Boys Burritos. A little over about 3 years ago, it burnt. It literally burnt to the ground. And Caleb, the guy that owned this complex, this building, once he got it built back up and got back going, he was going to tear this building down. And that's about the time I hired Chris. and I heard that Caleb was going to actually just mow this building over. It was a nice building. And I ran down one day and said, please don't do that. We need office space. Please don't take that building and destroy it. And so when he, him and I worked out a deal 2 years ago to renovate this office, and where we only had 3 offices at the other location, that's why we put a second location, is that we got like 7 offices now. And so we went like from 3 to 7. So that's really helped us a lot.
Yeah. Okay. You talked earlier about referrals, possibly your number one source of new business. And you talked about, I guess what you're saying, number 2 and 3 are people coming to you from your website. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the website, the search engine, we use Thrive, and some of those generating, platforms that when people just type in auto insurance, we're one of the top 2 or 3 that pop up.
And do you think much about, so referrals are essentially free. You just got to provide amazing service and be around a long time for people to send you referrals and ask for referrals. Do you ask for referrals?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What, do you have a strategy for that? I mean, are you just telling your agents, please always ask for referrals? Do you ever send out emails asking for referrals? Do you have a sign in the office?
Yeah, we've done several things with referrals. We've actually done something like where, it's against the law to do any rebating, but we do actually every now and then we'll have a contest and say, okay, if you refer so and so to us, we'll put you in this jug. And then we do a drawing. We used to do drawings like for small TVs and things of that nature when Sears was up here in the complex where my other office was at. And that got kind of exciting at time. You would do it for like 30 days or so and have, maybe 30 or 40 different names in that jug and draw it out and give a, $200 or $300 TV, one of these small screen TVs or something like that out. And people kind of got a little crazy with it a few times. I mean, it's really going hard to try to win a TV or, just anything we could choose. It could be a good giveaway. We've done that a number of times through the years.
I love that. And what's the definition? How do they get qualified if they just give you a name on a piece of paper? If somebody gives you my name, do you count that as a referral, or do I have to engage with you?
No, is that if somebody come to us, I say, okay, who told you to come and see me? Okay. Then if Eddie Price told me to come and see me and you bought a policy from me, then I just dropped Eddie Price's name into the jug.
Okay.
And, we've done that, especially, like I say, when Sears was up here and had these little small TVs, it was a really, really fun giveaway. And some of these good old McDowell County rednecks, they love that. They love that. Yeah, don't have to be a redneck now, a country boy or whatever. They like the little small TV.
And then the other people that are coming to you that are not just a referral, that may be finding you on Google or, finding your website or something, then they're just calling you. Or do you get people submitting requests online, or is it mostly still people calling you?
Yeah, we get a lot from our website. We get a lot of people that do, because we got a capability on our website to do a quote. And we get a lot of quote generated from our website. And so we get a lot of online referrals. Erie gets them too. People will actually go online with Erie and try to get a quote. And if one agent in that particular area, say Rutherford County, I'm in the McDowell, let's say somebody in Burke County or Buncombe County or Mitchell County or whatever above us doesn't accept that quote, then it actually sends it on to our agency. And if we accept it, then, we can finish the quote up, contact the customer. And we get a lot of people that actually go on to Erie site plus our site. And, if you just sit them there and just don't work on, Eddie, I tell all my agents, because I get every one of those that they come to me as a principal agent. And I allocate it out throughout the agency. I'll send this girl one, this, other agent one. And I tell them, look, you call these people, you send them an email, and then you follow up with them.
Yeah. Pretty quickly too, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, don't because they're looking to buy, so don't wait 2 weeks from now. You do it today, do it pretty quick, and we've got a lot of good customers that way.
The quotes that people are doing on your website, is that just like with the National General quote widget, or are they? Do you have something where they can get a quote from all your carriers?
No, that they just fill out information on our website and just give us their name and stuff, and then say, okay, we want a quote. But now Erie's the only place we've got that actually they can go to Erie's site and do a quote, fill out the information of the drivers, the vehicles, and things of that nature, the coverage, and then submit it. And of course, whatever area it's at, zip code it's at, then if that, agents that's there will respond back to them.
Okay. Did those quote requests come to you in an email?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get an email.
Here's something that's cool, and I don't think there's any extra charge for it. In Genesis, I don't know if you're doing it or not, but you can rate Progressive right inside of Genesis, and you can rate NatGen and Discovery. So you can rate some of the carriers you've talked about today right inside of Genesis. And we've got a new thing coming out. I don't think there's any charge for this that you can put on your website. And it essentially does the same thing you're talking about, filling out the form, but it puts it right inside of Genesis. So you don't have to get an email and then enter the data somewhere else. So that's something to think about, in the coming weeks. Very automated. All right, last couple questions here. Do you participate in any of the insurance associations?
No, not really. Not
Okay,
really.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And I know you said earlier it's not uncommon for you to work from 6 to 6. But what do you think about? Do you think about work-life balance? Is that a priority? Do you think you've got that nailed down pretty well, the work-life balance thing?
Yeah. Again, it's because, I didn't do that when my kids were younger, Eddie. It's kind of funny. I got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's my 4 boys.
I
I didn't
did
know if
not
you
know
knew that
that.
or not.
I did not. That is awesome.
Yeah, I've got the 4 boys, and 2 of them was very athletic. I played baseball for McDowell High, graduated in 76. My junior year, we went to the state championship as 3A. Again, I wrestled in high school. And so, I love athletics. To see what I'm doing now is just for fun and different things I do is I call girls softball, fast pitch softball. And so, growing up though, because I love sports, I run, I ran 55 miles on my 55th birthday. I've run marathons. I've ran out in California not long ago. I do a lot of stuff athletic wise, but when my boys was growing up, I did spend a lot of, and I'm talking about the early days of my agency. I said, again, I didn't spend that kind of time in the agency because, a lot of times I would, leave here early. I spent the time I needed to with my boys and going to their ball games and basketball. I had 2 that was pretty good in basketball and baseball. But, as they graduated and went on with their life, is that I thought, well, if I'm going to really make this business, and I'll be honest, sometimes it does get overwhelming if you just come in here and work from 8 to 5. I just sometimes there's just more to do than the regular day that you have gives you. And so I'm one of these that love to get up, get ahead of the day, make sure I'm ready and prepared for whatever comes through that door, whatever call comes in. And and it's been a good balance because really I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I love to do. And it's funny. There's a barber shop that opens at 6 o'clock right beside of me in the morning. Me and Wayne kind of vibes as who's going to get here first. But again, my wife teaches school. She's a first grade school teacher, and so we have our early morning interactions and stuff with her. But as far as, this day is that it's, I know there's some long hours I put in here, but it's not always been like that.
Right. Well, you mentioned the word love what you do. And, love's a big word. And I don't think you use the word love too lightly. And I think you're probably accurate in what that means here. And I totally am on the same page, because what I'm doing right now, see, this is work for me. This is my job. This is part of my job now. I'm doing this, getting to talk to you. And I've been able to build software over the years to help people. And I absolutely love pretty much every aspect of what I do every day. So when people even talk to me about retiring, I'm 60. I don't know when I'm going to retire. I don't really thought much about that right now, because if I had gotten up this morning, I would have gone to the gym, which is what I did anyway. I did my little devotional time every morning, my wife and I, then go to the gym. Then we went for a walk, go for a walk together most every morning before we start our work day. If I didn't have the work thing coming up right now, I'm not saying some people even say you shouldn't have your work be your identity. I don't know if that's necessary or worthwhile statement, because I think what you do, your work is to serve others. You're serving your team that works with you, and you and your team serves the community. And I think we're put here to serve. So when you love that, I think that's one of the greatest blessings in the world. And I feel so bad for people who don't like Mondays. They start dreading Mondays on Sunday because they're not happy in what they're doing. So I'm excited for you that you love what you do. And I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, well, when I say that, I honestly, it's not just a statement, is that when I joke around, I know you get tickled at the way I kind of bash myself about my knowledge of technology and Genesis and all that stuff. The thing that I feel like that's made me and McDaniel Insurance Agency, to me, such a identity here in Marion. I mean, I think we're a brand now in Marion. I mean, a lot of people, when they say McDaniel, I mean, a lot of people think I'm the insurance company. I'm just an agency, but they say we do business with the McDaniel Insurance Company. But my thing is that I really, if I could say something without it sounding arrogant, is that I'm really good at dealing with people. I love people. I love the challenges sometimes when people come in and they're upset, the rates are high, or they've got a problem. I love just the challenge of somebody walking in my door ready to kill me and everybody in here, but yet walk out the door shaking my hand, hugging my neck, thanking me for being there, that I'm somebody they can talk to. It's not somebody that's on a phone somewhere way off, that, they've been able to sit down. I had a guy with me this morning, Eddie, that sat in my office and we literally prayed together. He said, I am so grateful to have a person to talk to. And, and so often, when this guy started in his business, he was leaving Duke Power to start his own little small landscaping business. He said, Mike, I've never had anybody, when me and my wife walked in, he said, I told a ton of people what I was fixing to do, but you're the only person that offered to just bow your head and pray with us and ask God to help us and give us guidance. He sat here and wept this morning. I'm talking about this morning of the podcast. And he found out that I had prostate cancer, brought me a card this morning. He said, it's so nice to be able to have somebody to see face to face. And I really feel like if anything I got going for me is that it's crazy, but a lot of people like us. And a lot of people like to, I cut up sometimes, Eddie, I cut up too much, but I love cutting up with people, chatting with people, solving people's problems. I love the challenges, but, it's so rewarding. I've been blessed so much. I mean, I've got everything I want. I've got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful home. I've got an agency that'll knock your eyes out when you walk in here. I mean, what else could you want? I started with nothing 27 years ago, and I've got more financial success I've ever had in my life, but nobody gave it to me. I worked for it, but I worked for it and got it because of doing what I love to do, and that's helping people. And to me, it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done in life.
Yeah, I love that. And I see that. That is so apparent in you. You said a minute ago that people, for some reason, people like you. You said something like that a second ago. I think the reason's pretty obvious why people are drawn to you. There's this thing called charisma that's hard to define. We say this person has charisma, that person has charisma. I think that in your case, you do truly love people. I think there's something just down deep inside that you're loving people. And when you love people, that's an investment. Like any investment gets some kind of return. A bad investment gets a bad return. A good investment gets a good return. And I think you're investing in love in people, and it's almost like this thing that's in the air that you don't even have to say anything. It's just the way you act and treat them, and that's going to get people. People are going to be attracted to you, and I think that's charisma. That's really, it's love that's coming back. So also, second most important commandment in the Bible, isn't it? To love your brother, love your neighbor. Yeah. The first one, love God. Hey, by the way, Mike, we have a chaplain at Genesis, and our chaplain, we're getting ready to announce this to our customers. If any one of our customers has a need, let's say you or your team members has a need for a chaplain, you may not, I'm not, but we are going to make our chaplain available to people. We've already done it a couple times where people had needed to talk to somebody or something like that, or somebody visited a hospital. So just keep that in mind. We've had the chaplain about a year and a half, and she's wonderful and had a huge impact on our business. People, 25, 30 people here at Genesis. Not everybody connects with her, but most do. And some people in a profound way. So just keep that in mind if you ever need for something like that. I appreciate your time. This has been really enjoyable for me. I hope it's been somewhat enjoyable for you. I know you were a little apprehensive maybe. If there's anybody that watches this, Mike, that says, I've got a couple more questions of Mike, would you mind if they shot you an email?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What email address would they need to use?
It's a little long, but it'll make sense. It's Mike, M-I-K-E, at McDaniel Insurance Agency.com.
Yeah, it's simple enough. It is long. GenesisSoftwares.com is pretty long too. So I get that. You don't like having to write that down when you have to write that on a piece of paper, do you?
Yeah.
And the blocks are a little small and you've got that big long email address. Yeah, I think, Mike, I appreciate your humility and always have. I appreciate your kindness. You've always been a good partner in the relationship that we've had. I appreciate your giving spirit. And even though you've kidded about not being technically this or that, I think you're smart like a fox. I think you're one of these, you're a little bit of a sleeper there, trying to, maybe you're acting a little humble and not the brilliance that's really in there. So anyway, just appreciate everything about you, and appreciate you taking this time today.
Well, Eddie, if I could say anything, I don't know how everybody relates to how they got to where they've gotten in life. But, at one point, I got introduced to the insurance industry at the lowest point of my life. I don't know if again, you never had opportunity to hear this, but I went through a very life-changing experience when I was 35 years old. I'm 67 now, but I was a missionary. I had pastored 2 churches. I was a missionary for 8 years. And again, I hesitate saying this because it all had a good ending, and it still got a good ending. So when I say this, anybody that hears this could, I don't think I'm saying anything negatively to a former spouse, but my first wife just went through a breakdown and walked away from me and my 3 boys. And it devastated me. I didn't have any idea what to do with my life. And one of the greatest inspirations in my life was a Farm Bureau agent, Keith Cable. When I just walked into the office, he asked me, he said, "Michael, what are you going to do?" Because I was a full-time missionary. And at 35, I had to start life over again. And honestly, I didn't know what to do. And he looked at me, he said, "Mike, would you like to consider selling insurance?" And Eddie, I looked at him and said, "Keith, I don't know how to turn on a computer." And he said, "Mike, it's user friendly." I said, "You don't know who you're talking to." But, coming from literally nothing, literally starting life over with, this industry has been so good to me. I've been blessed. I went from the point that I had no idea how I was going to take care of my family, to it just like God opened up a door for me to be able to step into an industry that I had no idea where the next step was going to go and how it was all going to play out. And it's been, at times an up and down roller coaster, but it's been the most wonderful journey. And it's just, it gave me an opportunity because I love people. I pastored 2 churches. I was a missionary I still do it now, to the state prison here. I preach like 2 or 3 times a month to the maximum security prison here in Marion. I'll do their service this coming Sunday. But, I went from just literally not knowing how life was going to just unfold to just let me do both the best worlds. And so it's just, it's been an amazing journey. And sometimes I just stand in awe of how God has been so good to me and blessed me in ways that I'll never be able to explain.
Yeah, man, I love you sharing all that. Thank you. And I feel exactly the same way. This has been a great industry for me for about the same amount of time. I started a little bit before you, but you're just a little bit older than me, not much older. But so, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Mike. All right. I don't have anything else. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good, brother.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been an honor, and I appreciate you doing your very first podcast. You may start getting invited, to start doing podcasts now. All right. Thank you, Mike. Take care. Hope you have a great day. All right.
Thank
bye.
you.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agents like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. If today's episode gave you something valuable, please take action and start making changes in your agency today. And if you're ready to simplify operations and scale, visit genesissoftware.com and click on the orange button to book your demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep building, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.